Hello everyone, I am Rishika and in this series of videos we are going to learn about object-oriented programming with C++ in detail. I am taking the reference of OOPS standard book, which is, yes, you have guessed it right, Object-Oriented Programming with C++ by Bala Goswami. So what we are waiting for, let's get started with the first chapter, which is Principle of Object-Oriented Programming. So, to understand the importance of OOPS concept in system design, we have to first understand the drawback of the procedural programming or the structural oriented programming. So as you know that the software technology is the ever growing technology, it is dynamic in nature and new tools and technologies keep on coming, and we have to make our system scalable and reusable so that it can use the new technologies that comes in. So some of the drawbacks of function oriented programming are listed here. The first one is how to represent a real life entity of problem in system design. By real life entity we mean like human, like basket, bat, a ball. These are all a real life entities. But in case of a functional oriented programming, the main focus was on the function, the action, and not really on the object or the entity. So this was one of the main concept behind the function oriented programming, and one of the biggest difference between the function oriented programming and the object oriented programming, that in case of a function oriented programming the main focus is on the function, the action, and in case of object oriented programming the focus is on the object. The next point is how to design a system with open interfaces. By open interfaces, we mean that we should design a system which is open to use new technologies, which can which can work with the new technologies or tools that comes in. That simply means that we should develop a system which is scalable in future. The next point is how to ensure reusability and extensibility of your modules. Modules by mean we can say the code that you are writing or the software that you are developing, it should be reusable. It does not mean that you are making it so rigid with the use case that you are solving right now that it cannot be scalable to the similar use case that comes in the future, because for that you have to write the similar code again and again, and which makes your code base very huge. It will increase your software development cost, it will increase your software maintenance cost, etc, etc. So you have to make sure that you are making your software reusable and extensible. The next point is how to develop modules that are tolerant to any change in future. This is known as the scalability of your system. So you have to make sure that you are developing a software which is scalable in future, so that if a user requirements comes in future, your software can handle it and you can solve that use case, and you can like embed new feature in your system. The next point is how to improve software productivity and decrease software cost. We all want to save money, right? So it is one of the most important thing that we should take care of the software cost. In software cost there are many factors, like you have to make sure the code that you are writing is reusable, so that you have to so that you can save some money in the manpower. You have to write a code which is reliable, which does not mean a lot of maintenance, like manual maintenance, so that you can save some money, and all these things comes under software cost. So you have to make your software in such a way that it will decrease your software development cost. The next point is how to improve the quality of the software. Again, the quality of the software can be defined on multiple factors. It is based on the use case that you are trying to solve. For example, in terms of a banking software, your quality of the software can be reliability. In case of a social media platform, your quality of the software should be the user interface and the user experience. So it is based on the use case that you are trying to solve. You should define your quality of the software and you should make sure that you are taking care of it. The next point is how to manage the time schedule and how to industrialize the software development process. So it is very important that once you have created your software, you are maintaining a perfect software development cycle so that your software can be used for years and years. You have to maintain it, you have to test it properly, and you have to keep evolving with the new tools and technologies that comes in. So it all comes in the software development process. So there are some report related to the kind of software products that were built using the functional oriented programming, and it was reported that more than 50% of the software requirement modification due to changes in user requirement and data format were not solved. So that is why we have to move to the object oriented programming, and they have come up with some of the points we should take care of while designing a system to ensure that we are up to the mark for the quality of the software. So these are some points for the quality issues in software development. The first one is the correctness. By correctness, we means that the use case that you are trying to solve is 100% solved by your software. So the use case, you can say, like if you are developing a messaging app, then the messaging app should satisfy the user. It should have like a very generic thing that it should be two-way communication. There should be sharing photos, there should be sharing documents, etc, etc. So it should like 100% solve the use case that the user want. The second one is the maintainability of your software. So by maintainability, it can be defined in many terms. So first thing is that the software that you have developed, you are taking care of it, you are taking care of all the deprecations that your software has, and you are reporting all the bugs, you are resolving them, and you are taking care of the software that you have developed basically. The second point in maintainability is you are incorporating the new changes that the user want. That is basically you are enhancing your software based on the user requirement that comes in the future. So all these things comes in the maintainability and increase the quality of your software. The third point is the reusability. As I have mentioned before, what a reusability of a software means, it means that like today if you have developed a software to solve a particular use case, then you should make sure that if a similar kind of use case comes in the future, then your software is scalable and it can be reused. So it does not mean that you have to build your program again and again, you have to write new code for every particular use case. So you have to make sure that the system that you are developing is reusable and extensible. The fourth point is openness and interoperability. So what does it mean? It means that your software is able to communicate with the new technologies and tools that are coming in the industry. That means it can work with those softwares. You can use those technologies to build something interesting, to like enhance your system, like developing new features in your software, etc. So it should be open to all the new technologies that keep coming. The fifth point is the portability. Sixth is the security. Seventh is integrity, and eighth is user friendliness. So we know all of these terms. Like portability means that your software should be portable. Security means it should be reliable. It is very much important in terms of, like I have mentioned before, like banking system. Integrity means your software is trustworthy. You are like data privacy, you are taking care of the data of the users, so it comes under integrity. Again, the user friendliness comes under the user interface and the user experience, which is very much important in terms of like gaming systems and social media platforms. So all these things make sure comes under the quality checks of your system design, and you have to make sure that you are keeping a track of all these points while designing a system. Okay, so now let us look at the procedure oriented programming, how it works, and what are the high level languages which use these kind of concept. So the high level languages which are the example of procedure oriented programming are COBOL, Fortran, and C, that use purely the concept of procedure oriented programming. And let us now see the characteristic of this kind of programming. So here it is listed for you. The first one is emphasis is on the doing things. or you can say emphasis is more on the action or the functions. So as I've mentioned before, you are taking care of the function more than the object or the real life entity. Like your focus will be more on like cycling than who is doing cycling. So this is the difference between object oriented programming and function oriented programming. The second point is large programs are divided into smaller programs known as function. So function is nothing but the list of instructions that are grouped together and you want your computer to perform them. So this is the definition of a function, and dividing a larger problem into smaller problem is known as a top-down approach, which is used in the procedure oriented programming. So the biggest drawback of a top-down approach is that the code become less reusable, because in terms of a bottom-up approach, the smaller problems that you solved can be reused by some other use case that makes your system more reusable, which is not is in the case of top-down approach. The next characteristic is most of the functions share global data. So as you know that the focus is more on the function, the data is not really which is taken care of. It can freely move from one function to another. So this is the like the flow of a procedure oriented program, where when you want to solve this particular problem, you will divide it into smaller problems. You will share data from one function to another, and then that's how you will solve the bigger problem. Like the data can freely move from one function to another, or if you want a global data, that can be used by any function that you can define it globally. Okay, so this is how a procedure oriented programming work. So what are the drawbacks that you can think of is, the first one is you are sharing data so freely that it can cause inconsistency, it can cause data privacy issues, it can cause it can make your system more vulnerable to bugs and etc etc. So as you can see, it is mentioned that global data are more vulnerable to an inadvertent change by a function, because you are passing it so many times in so many functions that it can cause inconsistency, and your global data can be changed by any function. It becomes very difficult to debug like which function is causing that inconsistency or which function is causing that bug, and also it will increase your maintenance cost, your system reliability, etc. The next point is data move openly around the system from one function to another, as I have mentioned before. The another point is function transform data from one form to another, which is not a very ideal situation, because like it will cause inconsistency, right? Your data can be changed by the function, which is not a very ideal case, because you don't want your data to be changed so inconsistently, so freely by the just the functions, because it become very difficult to debug, right? And the last point is it employs a top-down approach in program design, as we have already discussed. So let's see what are the object-oriented programming criterias or the characteristic which are different from the procedure-oriented programming. So here the emphasis is on the data rather than the procedure, as we have already discussed. So data, or you can say object, which is nothing but a real life entity, which is a replication of a real life entity. The second point is program are divided into what are known as objects. In case of a procedure oriented programming, the program were divided into functions, but in case of object oriented programming, it is divided into objects. Objects is nothing but a collection of data and functions together. It is another concept known as encapsulation in terms of object oriented programming, but we will learn about it in detail in the further videos. So the programs are divided into objects. The next point is data structures are designed such that they characterize the object. So the drawback that we have discussed, that we should design a system which will resemble a real life entity. So in object oriented programming, we are trying to do that. Like we want a data structure that are designed to characterize an object. By object we can mean a real life entity like a human, like an animal, a mammal, etc. So we are developing the data structure that can characterize those kind of objects. The next point is function that operate on the data of an object are tied together in a data structure. So as I've mentioned before, like there were classes where the objects, the data structure and the function that will operate on the data will be combined together and will be called as an entity. So this is another point, another characteristic of object oriented programming. The next point is data is hidden and cannot be accessed by external function. As you have seen that in case of a procedure oriented programming, the data can move very freely from one function to another. The communication was between the one function to another, and not from one object to another. So in case of object oriented programming, the communication is between two objects rather than two functions. So that is why the data is hidden, which is also like data hiding, data abstraction and encapsulation in terms of object oriented programming. Again, we will learn about it in detail in further videos. So this is again a striking feature of object oriented programming. So the next point is object may communicate with each other through programs. We have already discussed this. The next is new data and function can easily be added whenever necessary. So this is the reusability. As I have already mentioned that in case of a bottom-up approach, it becomes very easy to make your system reusable. So reusability of your modules. Now the last point is follows bottom-up approach in program design. So we have already discussed it. So this is the basic structure of object oriented programming. So let's say this is a class which has its data, which has its function, and this function will operate on this particular data only, and this object will communicate to another object which will have its own data and functions. So like there's an encapsulation, there's a tight bound between the data and the function which will work together, and the objects will communicate to each other. So you can see that there's a privacy, data privacy, and like reliability of the software, and all of these reusability, scalability, all these things can be done using using OOPS concept. So these are some of the basic concepts which can be listed. So first is the object, the second is class, then data abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, dynamic binding, and message passing. So these are the concepts which we will learn in separate videos one by one to understand the basic concepts of object oriented programming in detail. Thank you for watching this video till the end. I hope you will like it, and for any confusion or doubt you can comment it in the comment section and I will be back with the replies. Thank you.